Welcome to today's emotional story, A Heart to Protect. This heart-wrenching tale begins when a frightened 10-year-old girl named Emily walks into a hospital cradling a newborn baby in her arms. The entire staff is left speechless, and soon they discover that both Emily and the baby, Ethan, are at the center of a devastating secret. As Emily bravely faces her past, including the dark truth behind Ethan's arrival, she finds herself surrounded by a caring group of people, each fighting to protect her and give her the future she deserves. But can she hold on to the one thing she loves most in the world while facing so much uncertainty? Join me as we follow Emily's emotional journey toward healing and hope. If you're curious to see how her story unfolds, hit subscribe and drop a comment below with your thoughts. Let's dive in! The sun barely peeks over the horizon as Emily Harper, a 10-year-old girl, stumbles into the emergency room of St. Mary's Hospital. Her oversized t-shirt clings to her, and her hair is unkempt. In her arms, she cradles a newborn baby wrapped in a faded blanket. The hospital staff are busy starting their shifts, but Nurse Sarah Thompson, sitting at the front desk, notices Emily immediately. "Sweetheart, are you lost?" Sarah calls out, standing up from her seat and walking toward the girl. Her eyes fall on the small bundle in Emily's arms, and her heart skips a beat. She knows something is terribly wrong. Emily doesn't respond. She clutches the baby tighter, her wide eyes fixed on Sarah as if waiting for something. An escape, maybe, or someone to save her. Dr. John Miller, the pediatrician on call, passes by and notices the unusual scene. "Is she okay?" Dr. Miller asks, his gaze falling on the baby. Sarah approaches slowly, her voice soft and reassuring. "What's your name, honey? Are you hurt?" The girl finally looks up, her voice barely a whisper. "My name is Emily. His name is Ethan." Sarah takes in the sight of this small, fragile child holding an even smaller, more vulnerable one. The weight of the situation hits her all at once. She needs to get the girl into a room, quickly. Inside the hospital room, Nurse Sarah gently guides Emily to a chair while Dr. Miller takes the baby, Ethan, to examine him. Emily's hands shake, and tears cling to her eyes, though she fights to hold them back. Dr. Miller checks Ethan's vitals, his mind racing with questions. "The baby seems to be only a few hours old," he says quietly to Sarah. "I need to run some tests, but he looks stable." Sarah turns her attention back to Emily. "Can you tell me what happened, Emily? Did someone bring you here?" Emily's lower lip trembles. She shakes her head, then whispers, "No, I came here by myself." The pieces don't add up in Sarah's mind, but she can see that Emily is too scared to give more details. She decides to back off for now, her priority being to comfort the girl. "It's okay," Sarah says gently. "You're safe now." As Dr. Miller continues his assessment of Ethan, he notices something else. Emily, the young girl, seems to be in pain. Sarah catches it too, the way Emily winces every time she shifts in her seat. "Emily?" Sarah says carefully, kneeling down to be eye level with her. "Are you hurting? Can you tell me what's wrong?" Emily bites her lip and nods, her face pale. It hurts. Everywhere," she mumbles. Sarah's heart breaks at the sight of this frightened child. She gently places a hand on Emily's shoulder. "I'm going to help you, okay? But I need to know what happened." "Can you tell me?" Emily shakes her head quickly, terror flashing in her eyes. I can't go home. He'll be mad if he finds out I'm here." Sarah feels the weight of Emily's words. Whoever this he is, he's a threat. The urgency of the situation sinks in deeper, and she knows they have to act fast to keep Emily and Ethan safe. With Emily now in the hospital room, Cindy Williams, the hospital's social worker, arrives to gather more information. Sarah introduces Cindy to Emily, hoping the gentle presence of another woman might help Emily open up. Cindy sits beside Emily, her tone soft and compassionate. "Emily, can you tell me a little about your family? Is there someone we can call for you?" Emily shakes her head again, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't want him to find me," he said. It had to be a secret. The room grows heavy with silence. Sarah exchanges a glance with Cindy, both of them realizing that this is more serious than they initially thought. Dr. Miller, now standing near the doorway, feels his heart sink as the implications start to become clearer. "You're safe here, Emily," Cindy reassures her. "We're going to help you and Ethan, okay?" Later that day, Detective Mark Stevens arrives at the hospital, called in to assess the situation. He meets with Cindy and Dr. Miller, both of whom fill him in on Emily's condition. Stevens' face grows hard as he listens to the story. He's seen cases like this before, and none of them have happy endings. "I need to speak to her," Stevens says, his voice grave. "The sooner we can get a statement, the sooner we can make sure she's safe." Sarah is hesitant, worried that Emily is too fragile to be interrogated right now. "She's barely spoken," she says. "I don't want to push her too hard." "I'll be gentle," Stevens replies, but Sarah can see the determination in his eyes. He knows they're running out of time. When Stevens enters the room, he kneels down beside Emily, trying to appear as non-threatening as possible. "Emily, my name's Mark. I'm here to help you, okay? No one's going to hurt you here. Can you tell me about Ethan? Is he your baby?" Emily's grip tightens on the blanket. She doesn't answer right away, but her silence speaks volumes. After several hours of gentle questioning, Emily finally breaks. With Cindy and Sarah by her side, she begins to reveal the terrible truth. Her stepfather, Tom Harper, was the one who abused her. She explains in broken sentences that she didn't understand what was happening at the time, and that she was too scared to tell anyone. He said, "It was our secret," Emily whispers through her tears. "I didn't want Ethan to be born, but I couldn't stop it." The room goes still. Cindy feels tears well up in her eyes, but she forces herself to stay strong for Emily. Dr. Miller clenches his fists, trying to contain the anger rising in his chest. They all realize the horrific reality of the situation. This innocent young girl had been forced to carry her abuser's child. "We're going to protect you," Cindy promises, holding Emily's hand. "We won't let him hurt you ever again." Dr. Miller conducts a thorough examination of Emily, confirming that she gave birth very recently. He's concerned for her health, both physical and emotional. Cindy immediately starts the process of removing Emily from her stepfather's custody. But there's a significant obstacle. Emily is terrified that Ethan will be taken away from her. "They won't take him, right?" Emily asks, her voice shaking. "He's mine." Sarah sits down beside Emily, her expression soft but firm. "No one's taking Ethan from you, Emily. We're going to make sure you both stay together." It's a delicate situation, and they all know it. The legal process is complicated, and the trauma Emily has endured makes it even harder for her to trust the system. But Cindy and Sarah are determined to protect her. The next morning, Rebecca Green, a foster mother known for her work with children in crisis, arrives at the hospital. Cindy introduces her to Emily, explaining that Rebecca is willing to foster both her and Ethan. At first, Emily is hesitant, but Rebecca's warm smile and kind demeanor begin to ease her fears. "I have a little boy of my own," Rebecca tells her. "He's 5 and he loves meeting new friends. You and Ethan will have a safe home with us." Emily's gaze shifts to Ethan, who is sleeping peacefully in his crib. The idea of leaving the hospital and starting a new life both terrifies and excites her. For the first time, she feels a glimmer of hope. Perhaps there is a future for her and Ethan, away from the pain and fear. Emily and Ethan move into Rebecca's home, a cozy, welcoming space that feels worlds away from the horrors of Emily's past. Rebecca is patient and understanding, giving Emily time to adjust while ensuring that Ethan's needs are met. For the first time in years, Emily experiences moments of normalcy, eating meals at a table, sleeping in a warm bed, and feeling safe. But the shadows of her trauma still loom large. At night, Emily lies awake, listening to Ethan's soft breathing and wondering if the peace she's found can last. "I'm scared," she admits to Rebecca one evening. "I don't know how to be a mom. What if I mess it up?" Rebecca pulls Emily into a gentle hug. "You're already doing an amazing job, Emily. You're strong and you're brave. Ethan is lucky to have you." After a few weeks in Rebecca's care, Emily begins to settle into her new routine, though nightmares and anxiety continue to plague her. Meanwhile, Jessica Harper, Emily's biological mother, is contacted by social services. The news of her daughter being in foster care and the allegations against her husband brings Jessica to the hospital, demanding answers. Jessica is a woman in her late 30s, her face hardened by years of stress and neglect. She meets with Cindy in a quiet room, her arms crossed and her demeanor defensive. "I can't believe this," Jessica says sharply. "Emily's always been a troublemaker. This is probably all a misunderstanding." Cindy keeps her voice calm but firm. "Jessica, Emily is just a child, and she's been through a traumatic situation. Our priority is ensuring her safety." Jessica bristles, unwilling to accept responsibility. "Tom would never do something like this. You don't understand." Through the thin hospital walls, Emily overhears the conversation. Her body goes cold as her mother defends the very man who hurt her. Tears well up in her eyes, and she turns away, clutching Ethan closer to her chest. Later, Rebecca finds her sitting on the bed, silent and withdrawn. "I heard what she said," Emily murmurs. "She doesn't care." Rebecca's heart aches for the little girl. She sits beside her and wraps an arm around Emily's shoulders. "That doesn't mean it's true, Emily. You are worth so much more than what she sees." Detective Mark Stevens gathers all the evidence needed for Tom Harper's trial. Emily's testimony is crucial, but the prospect of facing her abuser in court terrifies her. Stevens and Cindy both know that putting Emily on the stand will be emotionally taxing, but they have no choice. One afternoon, Stevens visits Rebecca's house to speak with Emily. His tone is gentle as he explains the process. "We're going to do everything we can to protect you in court," he says, sitting across from her. "But we need your help, Emily." Emily's face goes pale. She pulls her knees to her chest, trembling. "Do I have to see him again?" Stevens sighs, hating that he has to put her through this. "We'll try to make sure you don't have to look at him, but your words are important, Emily. You're brave. I know you can do this." Rebecca stays by Emily's side, offering comfort. "No one's going to let him hurt you again," she promises. "You have all of us now." Though the fear gnaws at her, Emily slowly nods. "I want him to go to jail, so he can never hurt anyone else." The day of the trial arrives. Emily stands in the hallway outside the courtroom, her hands clammy and her heart pounding. She clutches a small, worn-out teddy bear that Rebecca gave her for comfort, but it does little to soothe her nerves. When it's time for her testimony, Emily steps into the courtroom, her eyes immediately drawn to Tom Harper sitting at the defendant's table. She quickly looks away, her stomach churning. Stevens had arranged for her to testify via video, but at the last minute, the defense attorney challenged it, forcing her to testify in person. As she takes the stand, Emily feels the weight of the entire room on her shoulders. The judge, the lawyers, the jurors, they're all waiting to hear her story. Her voice trembles as she recounts the months of abuse, how she was too scared to tell anyone, and how she gave birth to Ethan in secret. Tom's cold eyes stare back at her from across the room, but Emily refuses to look at him. She focuses on the prosecutor's questions, her voice gaining strength with each answer. "I didn't want it to happen," Emily says, her voice breaking. "I was scared, but I knew I had to protect Ethan." When her testimony finally ends, Emily feels a mix of relief and exhaustion. As she steps down from the stand, she sees Rebecca and Cindy waiting for her in the hallway. Rebecca pulls her into a tight hug. "You were so brave, Emily," Rebecca whispers. "You did it." The trial concludes, and Tom Harper is convicted and sentenced to prison. Though the legal process is over, Emily's journey is far from finished. The trauma she's endured won't disappear overnight, but the conviction gives her a sense of closure. Back at Rebecca's house, the atmosphere is calmer, but Emily remains tense. Therapy sessions with Dr. Chloe Evans, a child psychologist, help Emily process her feelings. Dr. Evans encourages her to talk about her fears and anxieties, reassuring her that it's okay to feel conflicted about her mother and her stepfather. Rebecca organizes a small celebration for Ethan's first birthday. It's a modest affair, but for Emily, it's a sign of hope. Cindy, Sarah, and Detective Stevens all attend, bringing gifts for both Ethan and Emily. As she watches Ethan play with his new toys, Emily feels a warmth she hasn't felt in years. For the first time, she smiles genuinely. "Maybe we'll be okay," she whispers to herself, though she's still cautious about believing it fully. Life with Rebecca slowly becomes a new normal for Emily. She returns to school, although she's behind in her studies. At school, Emily struggles with fitting in. Some of the other kids gossip about her, but she learns to ignore them with the help of Lily, a kind girl who befriends her and helps her catch up on homework. At home, Rebecca continues to support Emily in caring for Ethan. Rebecca helps Emily with diaper changes and feedings, offering advice on how to handle a fussy baby. Over time, Emily grows more confident in her role as Ethan's mother. One evening, as Emily rocks Ethan to sleep, she turns to Rebecca. "I think I'm getting better at this," she says, her voice tinged with a bit of pride. "But what if I mess up?" Rebecca smiles softly. "You're doing great, Emily. And when you need help, you have me, you have Sarah, and you have Cindy. You're not alone in this." Dr. Evans continues to work with Emily in therapy, encouraging her to express the emotions she's kept buried for so long. During one session, Emily confesses her deepest fear, that she'll never be able to be a good mother to Ethan because of her past. "Your past doesn't define you," Dr. Evans reassures her. "What matters is how you move forward. You've already shown so much love and strength for Ethan." As Emily reflects on these words, she realizes that she's been carrying the weight of her past for too long. Slowly, she starts to release some of that burden. Her nightmares become less frequent, and her anxiety, while still present, starts to lessen. "I want to be someone Ethan can look up to," Emily tells Rebecca one evening. "I want him to be proud of me." Rebecca hugs her tightly. "He already is, Emily, and so am I." Just as Emily begins to feel a sense of stability, a new challenge arises. Rebecca faces financial difficulties after losing her job, causing tension in the household. Emily overhears Rebecca talking to Cindy on the phone about money troubles, and her anxiety flares up again. "What if we have to leave?" Emily whispers to herself, fear gripping her heart. Determined not to lose the only real home she's ever known, Emily approaches Rebecca. "I can help," Emily offers, though she's unsure how. Rebecca kneels down in front of her, taking her hands. "Sweetheart, I appreciate your offer, but you don't need to worry about this. I'm going to figure things out." Emily nods, but the fear remains. She can't shake the feeling that her life with Rebecca and Ethan could be taken away at any moment. Rebecca manages to find a temporary job, alleviating some of the financial strain in the household. Life slowly regains a sense of normalcy, and for the first time, Emily feels something close to peace. Her days are filled with school, caring for Ethan, and small moments of joy that she never thought possible. Rebecca encourages Emily to explore the things she missed out on as a child. One day she brings home a stack of books. "I thought you might like these," Rebecca says, handing them to Emily. "They're about angels, like the one you named Ethan after." Emily's eyes light up as she flips through the pages. "Can we read them together?" Rebecca smiles warmly. "Of course, whenever you're ready." That evening, Emily curls up on the couch with Ethan beside her, reading aloud from one of the angel books. As she reads, she allows herself to imagine a future full of hope and possibilities. It feels like a far-off dream, but for the first time she believes it might be within her reach. 1 year has passed since Emily first walked into St. Mary's Hospital with Ethan in her arms. Life has changed in ways she could never have imagined. Ethan is now a happy, curious toddler, and Emily has grown into her role as a mother, though she still struggles with doubts at times. Sarah, Cindy, and Detective Stevens remain part of Emily's life, visiting often and offering their support. One day, while they're all gathered at Rebecca's house, Emily takes a quiet moment to reflect on how far she's come. She writes a letter to Ethan, something she hopes he'll read one day when he's old enough to understand everything they've been through together. "Dear Ethan," she writes, "I want you to know that I fought for you, and I'll keep fighting. You gave me a reason to be brave, and because of you, I found a family and people I never expected. I hope one day you'll be proud of me." As she folds the letter and tucks it away, Emily feels a sense of closure. She still has a long way to go, but she knows she's on the right path. As the months pass, Emily begins to thrive in her new life. She feels a growing sense of belonging in Rebecca's home, and the bond between them deepens. Rebecca's son, Dylan, who was initially shy around Emily and Ethan, starts to treat them like family, sharing his toys with Ethan and including Emily in his games. One evening, as they sit outside watching Ethan and Dylan play, Emily turns to Rebecca. "I never thought I'd be this happy," she admits, her voice soft. Rebecca smiles, wrapping an arm around Emily's shoulders. You deserve all the happiness in the world, Emily. And you've earned it. Though the trauma of her past still lingers, Emily feels stronger each day. Therapy with Dr. Evans continues, helping her process her emotions and guiding her through the challenges of being both a young mother and a survivor of abuse. At school, Emily makes friends with Lily and a few other girls, finding herself slowly fitting in. She even begins to think about her future. Inspired by Sarah's kindness, she dreams of becoming a nurse, hoping to help others the way she was helped. As the seasons change, Emily reflects on how far she and Ethan have come. 1 year ago, she was a terrified little girl, running away from a life of abuse and neglect. Now she's a young mother with dreams and a future ahead of her. The scars of her past will never fully fade, but she knows that she has the strength to keep moving forward. One afternoon, as she watches Ethan toddle around the yard, giggling as he chases butterflies, Emily feels a deep sense of peace. She pulls out the letter she wrote to him months ago, reading it over again. This time she adds a new line at the bottom. "I fought for us, and I'll keep fighting, because I love you more than anything. And I know, with the family we've found, we'll be okay." Rebecca, noticing Emily's quiet moment, joins her on the porch. "What are you thinking about?" she asks, her voice gentle. Emily smiles softly. "The future." Rebecca sits beside her, watching Ethan play. "It's a bright one, Emily. You and Ethan are going to do great things. I just know it." Emily leans her head on Rebecca's shoulder, feeling the warmth of her words. For the first time, she believes them. The weight of her past doesn't seem as heavy anymore. With Rebecca, Sarah, Cindy, and all the people who've helped her, she knows that she and Ethan have a bright future ahead of them. Thank you so much for joining me on this emotional journey through A Heart to Protect. If you were moved by Emily and Ethan's story of survival, healing, and hope, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more heartwarming and inspiring stories. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update on our latest content. Together we can keep sharing stories that matter. Thank you for your support.